On March 25, 2018, paramedics rushed to an apartment in Seoul's Gangnam district. A 33-year-old man was unconscious. They performed CPR, fighting to restart a heart that had suddenly stopped, but it was too late. Seo Min-woo, the leader of the K-pop group 100%, was pronounced dead at the hospital. The official cause was sudden cardiac arrest. Almost instantly, fans couldn't believe the headlines. How does a healthy, active 33-year-old just drop dead in his own home? Rumors began to swirl across social media. People weren't just mourning, they were angry. Netizens pointed fingers at the brutal K-pop industry, wondering if relentless schedules, extreme dieting, and the crushing pressure to stay relevant had finally taken a human life. To understand why his death immediately sparked controversy, you have to look at how Min-woo worked. He debuted with 100% in 2012 under Top Media. As the oldest member, he carried the heavy burden of leadership in an industry that notoriously discards idols once they hit their late 20s. Minwoo's group built their entire identity on raw talent. They flat out refused to lip sync. While other idols faked it to survive exhausting schedules, Minwoo belted out high notes while doing violently complex choreography. It demanded a terrifying level of physical stamina. He spent sleepless nights in rehearsal rooms, pushing his body to the absolute edge to be perfect on stage. Fans loved it, but netizens later realized this obsession with perfection was quietly destroying his health. The stress only got worse when Min-woo had to pause his career for mandatory military service in 2014. In K-pop, a 2-year break is a potential career death sentence. When he returned in 2016, the industry had moved on to younger, hungrier groups. The pressure to claw their way back to the top was suffocating. Min-woo threw himself into grueling international tours across Japan and China, doing back-to-back sold-out shows. He hid his exhaustion behind a dazzling smile. What the public didn't know was that he was using art to cope. He painted dark, moody pieces to escape the enormous psychological pressure of the idol world. He even secretly donated large sums to orphanages, desperate to do something real in an industry he knew was fake. It was a massive red flag everyone ignored. Then came March 25th. Min-woo collapsed at home and never woke up. When Top Media released their official statement, the internet exploded with questions. Online communities immediately started digging into notorious idol diet culture. People wondered if years of extreme weight management combined with dehydration from intense dance rehearsals had permanently damaged his heart. Others brought up the lack of proper medical care for performers who are expected to work sick. There was no scandal of foul play, no dramatic police investigation, and honestly, that somehow made it worse. It was just a silent, brutal erasure of a life. The agency's handling of the funeral only fueled the fire. Top Media held a quiet, private ceremony, shutting fans out entirely. In an industry that forces idols to sell a fake, intimate bond to fans, this sudden wall of privacy felt like a slap in the face. Netizens speculated that the agency kept the funeral small to avoid media scrutiny. If thousands of fans showed up, the mainstream media might actually ask hard questions about how Top Media pushed their artists. The entire K-pop industry briefly paused out of respect, but the silence from major agencies was deafening. Nobody wanted to talk about the systemic issues that led to this. Acknowledging Minwoo's death meant admitting the idol system is fundamentally broken. Minwoo wasn't a victim of a drug scandal or a malicious attack. He was a victim of a system that demands absolute perfection without a safety net. If a healthy 33-year-old can work himself into a fatal cardiac arrest, what does that say about the teenagers debuting right now? The K-pop machine kept spinning after March 2018. New groups debuted, and the news cycle moved on. But the questions still linger. How many more idols have to collapse behind closed doors before this industry stops treating human beings like machines?